At the end of the last video, I talked about maybe exploring some outline changes this time, and I decided to do some exploration of that before the recording started, just to make sure that I was not leading everybody terribly astray. So I'm just in my art scene, and all I've done here is I've pulled out some copies of my tool. I already have some in the scene, but I just pulled out 3 more temporary ones. They're just here. And I also pulled out just some random coral objects. These are not my normal corals, they're just ones fresh out of core content. And then I made a folder, and I put it in the client context here. That's this folder here. And it's got different things in it. So we have a selection outline, and on that it's outlining this group here. Everything in that group has the outline applied to it right now. I'm not actually going to use this thing. This is just here so that I could play with the outline properties and figure it out before I changed all the tools. So you can see that I haven't messed with these settings a ton. I'm not sure if I need is animated turned on or not. I'm still learning about this. I have a thickness set to 3 because I kind of wanted a chunkier one. I did mess with some of these distance settings because I found that if I didn't do that, when I zoomed out, the outlines were like crazy big, which was a bit weird. So I just kind of messed around with these till it looked okay. And then I also, by default, if you don't have multicolor check, there's only just one color here. So in the farming framework, it's just set to yellow and there's only a single color. But if you click this multicolor thing, then you get these other choices, like these other fields will show up, and you can set them to colors, and you can see that it's created a gradient. At the bottom of this set of objects, you can see it's blue down here and it's yellow at the top and like purple in the middle. This color offset here is controlling where those bands are exactly. So I've just picked values that I think turned out pretty well. Let me just make them a little bit smaller numbers so it's easier to work with. I've got this one set to 0.66, so I'm just going to mess with it here so you can see it moving there. So where exactly you want these to be is going to depend on the exact look you want. So now that I know kind of what I want my outline to be when an object's interactive, now I need to put that on my tools. So if you remembered, the tools have the equipment or tools have entry in the equipment database, but they also just have an actual core equipment item, and that's where you're going to find the outlines. So if we go inside here, we have, there you see it, the selection outline. You have to change this in each tool. They each have their own. So, and that does mean you could make it a different color for each tool that you wanted to interact with a thing. You could make the outline for a shovel different than the outline for a pick or something. But what we're going to do is change all these. So I already enabled multicolor, but I didn't actually mess with any settings here. So you can see we've got multicolor selected, and that opens this box up. Thickness is set to 3. You don't need anything in this object reference because that's we're doing that when you use the tool, right? I only set that in my little test thing so that we could see it. We needed an object to outline. So just to make my life easier, I'm gonna just take a look at this one, and I'm just going to print screen it for myself so that I can have it open in the other window and I can make sure that I've set the values that I want. So I have no memory. Okay, so we'll grab our outlines there and we will check to make sure that everything is set the same. So 3. So it looks like I was playing with dynamic thickness. And that's how I was saving the zoom out thing. So I had that set to 3. The main reason I did this sort of on my own earlier was just because I knew it was going to take me a lot of just sliding values around to come up with something that kind of looked roughly the way I wanted. I have mine at sort of a purple-y shade of some kind. I mean, these exact colors will likely change as I work on things. I'm just copying the values that I decided on. So we'll see how this looks. Okay, so we're going to go back into each of these equipment. The pre-build producer is for something else that I'm going to show you in a minute. So we need to update those templates. Oh, we don't want to play in this scene. Let's save this and then go to the other scene and take a look at what this looks like and if it works. There we go. I went to pick a big object so we can see it. So you can see that that tool is now outlining. Or that, because of that tool, it's outlining that way. That's pretty good, actually. I don't really mind that. We might have to tone it down a little, maybe later. But for now, this is sort of funny, so I'll run with it. I'm entertained. So you might be wondering why the ones up the front door were not the same color. So let's go look at that. So when I first went in, if you'll notice, I have no tool equipped on my hotbar there. But these are interactive and they're still highlighting. That is because I actually do have a tool equipped. When you have nothing else equipped, we're actually equipping sort of a hand tool for you. And so that one needs its outline changed as well. So we have to change any outline that's being used in the project. So let's go check the database and get the names of the other equipment that we need to use. So it looks like I'm using hand tool look. So we can go find that one. And if we check down in the client context, sure enough, there's one in there. I can still see the properties I had set on the other one in my second monitor here. So we selected multicolor. Yes, I should have saved all those colors so that they would have exactly the same values again. Okay, so there's one other place where we're going to need to change our outline, and that's here in Framework Dependencies, and then in Equipment Controller, and then down here we have another outline. Hopefully that should be all of the ones that are currently being accessed by our project. I'm actually wondering if I could put that into a template and nest it and use it in all these places, but I haven't done any experiments with that yet, so I'm not sure. Okay, so let's just save our scene and play and see if we've got all the outlines. So now we're getting something much more like what we expected to. Those are definitely over the top. It's pretty amusing. So let's just try planting a producer. Now, it turns out these corals are way too big for these little nets, but I haven't decided if I want to change the size of the nets, change the size of the corals, make large coral nets. I don't know. There's a lot of different solutions, and it's not really necessary to have the visuals of this just right for what we're doing right now, which is just sort of getting a game working. So, but yeah, that looks, you know, those are pretty fun little things. We got our bright colored outline. The other thing that I did, I guess I didn't talk about this actually. So these corals, after I did the last video, I went ahead and finished that group of corals because I'd already shown you what I was doing. So I spent maybe another hour putting these in, just opening up the producer table, the producer states table, and the drop table, and putting in the data. So now I have, I can grow all of these types of corals. I have plate table corals, pillar corals, my branch corals, and my little spike corals. They're all in. Although just for, you know, just for this one. I haven't done the wild ones or like the chair ones or anything. I just did this one. And you can see all of my dead states really depended on being stuck into the ground, which is just not going to work. So yeah, I just have to rethink those and rebuild them. That's kind of fun. I changed the color of the hologram as well. It's blue right now. I don't know what color I want it, but I don't know. I didn't really want it to be green. I was thinking maybe like blue and then like a fuchsia if you couldn't place it or something. But if I do that, then I should probably use like blue and yellow or something like that for this outline, right? Because should be consistent with our color use. The main thing I wanted to do right now though was just sort of experiment with different looks and see if we could get something that looked pretty cool. But that's all great. Those are working. Let me get my little task list here and see what else I wanted to go over. Oh yeah, one of the other things that I did, if you'll remember when we were filling out some of the producer tables, there was sort of effects columns that you could put in. And I put in some temporary effects, or I just had like the leafy plant effects, but I decided to just quickly throw a new effect in here. So when I plant the coral now, oops, that coral doesn't grow there. That one needs a ground spot. So if you watch when I plant, there's like bubbles coming up there. That's part of the place effect that I have. And they're in the, so they're in the harvest one too. You'll see there's bubbles. There's a dust poop in there too. I gotta get rid of the dust poops because they're not relevant now. But yeah, so I added that. And that was just, again, in the producer table. I was showing someone my UI earlier, so I had it back on again. So here in the producer state thing, there's place and collect and remove effects that you can change. So I just copied one of the existing effects and added my bubbles and stuff to it to make a new one of those. It's good to make one, even if it's not the one you're actually going to keep when you first start, because if you just call one, say you're making a game where you, I don't know, where you're growing trees, right? And you want a harvest wood effect when you collect your tree plot. Then you should make an effect harvest wood right at the beginning, put it in all these slots, and then you can just open the template and change the contents with it without having to come back and change this data table. You know, so in my case, I want the same effect no matter what coral I'm planting, so I might as well have that effect in my table early, and then I can go and make the changes to this at any time, and I don't have to do anything in the table to see the result of that. The next thing that I wanted to do was I'm going to quickly fix some drops that didn't get fixed the other day. So I'll of course speed up the video while I'm working on that. But basically we fixed all the coral drops, but not the other ones. So there's some other materials like stone. They haven't been adjusted to sit inside of the bubbles. So my materials were the things that weren't properly adjusted. Okay, so we fixed the materials now. That's good. They're right, but I'm pretty sure I have another set of drop icons that I did not do. Those being my chisel, clippers, and hammer. Okay, so we can update those ones. The other thing that should maybe be fixed is the other drop, the kind you drop from your inventory, since, you know, I'm sitting here fixing this anyway. So if I go check in drop behaviors, the other one was called item pickup key press. So since I don't know exactly what all is different about this, all I'm going to do is paste it into the, like, move it to the exact same position. You know, I'm just using this menu here where you can copy and paste transforms around. And then I'm going to de-instance it. We'll rename it so it has bubble in the name, just like the other one. And we'll go in here and we'll take a look at what's inside. There's actually an outline object here. Okay, so this one is a little bit different than the other one. I haven't worked with it before, but it looks like it has an outline object in it. I'm not sure if I can take that out or not, so for now all I'm going to do is make it match my other outline object, and then we'll take out these callout sparkles and we'll put the bubble in here. Just making sure these values match. This one's in a different channel. I'm not going to worry about that. I guess I'll leave that how it is. It actually doesn't need this hierarchy. Discovery depth probably could be much lower because we're not burying the art assets or anything, but it's fine for now. We'll turn on multicolor. Just make this some facsimile of what the other one is. I'll show you the use case where this bubble would be used when we do the test here in a minute. So right now, you pick up, or you hit F if you want to pick up this object. So to show that it's just got this little label. So this will be sort of a billboard above the thing, above the dropped item, to tell the player that they need to hit F to pick this thing up. So we could change the look of that if we want later, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. So let's create a new template from this, and then put it into that slot. Key press 1, then save all, or control save, either way, to make sure the table saves. And then we can delete these out of the scene. We're going to hit play and see how that works. So the way, we didn't actually need to come in the cave to test this. The way we test this is we have to throw something on the ground. It does not look like it's getting the correct one. So I have to go and figure that out. Okay, so I played the game again and sort of took a look at what was spawning. It was the old one that was spawning. So there was a place that I forgot to change it. So it has to also be changed in your inventory, because I changed it, the one on the anything that's set to solo behavior, but this is where you have to change it if it is set to if it's just being dropped out of your inventory. So we just need to do the same thing here. Set these ones to bubble as well. One thing that I could have done to figure that out is to look up the asset here and select this button here, reference viewer, this one here. It'll tell me everywhere that that's used. So it would have showed the Quirrell table here for inventories. It doesn't now because I just changed it, but you can see that the farming game is still using it in drop behaviors and inventories. So that's one choice. If you can't remember what table it's in or why that particular version is spawning, you can try looking at the item here and then hitting open reference viewer to give you hints on where that thing is being used. Okay, so that should actually work now. So let's try it again. There we go. So now if I drop it out of my inventory, it'll show up like this. I'm not sure if I want that highlight or not. I don't know. I might have to investigate, seeing if I can get rid of that. I'm not sure if it'll break that one or not. But I mean, I like the highlight in some ways. I wish that I could have a highlight around the bubble, but I don't. Transparent objects don't play nicely with the outline, so I don't think I can. Although I could maybe try to do something really tricky and put a ring around the bubble and then set it to billboard, so no matter where you looked at the bubble from, it would have like an outline around it. That's a possible thing I could do. Oh, maybe I should have actually picked that up so you could see that it works. There you go. So I just picked it back up. I guess I'll quickly show what all the other Quirrells I made look like, since I didn't show them at the start of this video like I should have. And again, I wasn't doing anything special. I was just doing more of the same thing I did in the last video, just setting up, because I had set up all the branch Quirrells, and I just went ahead and did more Quirrells. So let's see which ones we haven't shown here. So we've already shown the branch and this purple one. Oops, it looks like I got rid of one of them. that's okay. It's going to look like the same thing, but in a different color. So these ones are the plate corals. This one is a pillar coral that needs to be planted on the ground. And then these ones here are the spike corals. So you can see the plate and pillar ones grew over there. And then spikes, we have... These ones look kind of funny when they're small because the material makes them look super puffy. Like, super chubby little things before it grows. And then we have the brain coral that I was playing with earlier. There's only just one color of that one. So yeah, that's the rest of our little garden to go with the branch corals. But as I said, I might adjust sizes, placements, maybe even the sizes of nets that you can grow them on, things like that. I'll mess with those later. So I was debating what to do next, but I think this video is already long enough, so I think I'll leave the next task to the next video. Between videos, I'm going to do a little bit more drudge work because these corals, if you see, this is the size that we're growing right now, but this is the size that the wild ones can get up to. So what I'll do is maybe put in some of those great big wild ones, because if we had those, then we could do, we'd be able to fill out this environment we made with both corals and rocks to do sort of a test play of coral craft. And I'd kind of like to do that. So I'll do this setup of the new producers, and then next video we could maybe try to lay out that environment with some pre-built producers and have a little bit of a play. So see you in the next video.